Discover the spine-chilling secrets, 30 Days of Sinister Terror in a Cursed Mission Exposed. Lisa never believed in ghosts or curses, but as the crisp autumn air filled with whispers, she started to wonder. The Maplewood Diner was a place of warmth, laughter, and the scent of sizzling bacon until a folded paper slipped beneath her car's windshield wiper one fateful night. She frowned, the familiar address sending a chill down her spine. It beckoned her to read its cryptic warning: "A danger looms in your neighborhood." Skepticism washed over her, but dread gnawed at her insides as shadows cut through the golden streetlights. Ethan, her curious 10-year-old, had struck up a friendship with Mr. Grayson, the new neighbor everyone adored. He was charming, funny, known for organizing community events, but Lisa couldn't shake off the feeling that he watched with an unsettling intensity, as if waiting for something. Her heart raced at the thought, a mental alarm screaming danger. As the iron grip of fear tightened, reports of missing children blanketed the town like a thick fog. The regular life she'd cherished now felt ominous, twisted. Fearful whispers permeated her dreams, unsettling her more than she dared to admit. "Mom, look what I found." Ethan's excitement cut through the anxiety, as he held up a handmade doll. Its piercing eyes seemed to glisten unnaturally. Lisa's breath caught in her throat, unease flooding her veins. The doll was a gift from Mr. Grayson, who appeared too excited as he ruffled Ethan's hair, his grin stretching just a bit too wide. "It's special," he declared, almost too eagerly. A growing corral of terror trapped her within her own walls. The unsettling notes continued to starkly predict sinister events, with each word etched in her mind like a haunting mantra encouraging paranoia. Desperation clawed at her throat, compelling her to investigate. Streaks of dusk painted the sky as she roamed the empty streets, haunted by local folklore surrounding the Watcher, assumed to take the innocent to maintain the town's prosperity. The chilling thought made her skin crawl. What if Mr. Grayson was connected to these tales? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each day felt darker and heavier, fear throbbing like a second heartbeat. Lisa's search for allies dissolved into distrust and isolation. Who could she confide in when even the townsfolk seemed enmeshed in complacency? The unease tightened until it became unbearable, a dark cloud hanging over her as she braced for confrontation. She had to expose Grayson, but as ominous whispers flitted past her like shadows, they warned her back, echoing a cruel truth: you have only 30 days to save him. The time of sacrifice draws near. The words etched in her mind sent her pulse racing. She was standing on the precipice of a dark mystery, the stakes never more compelling. This wasn't just about safeguarding her son, it was a battle for their lives. With the air heavy around her, Lisa braced herself. Her suburban nightmare was only beginning. The next morning dawned gray and overcast, the sky a heavy blanket threatening to drench the parched earth. Lisa felt the weight of the day settle on her shoulders. She leaned against the kitchen counter, bracing herself as Ethan poured cereal, the mundane scene at odds with the storm brewing inside her. "Mom, I want to go to Mr. Grayson's house after school," Ethan chirped, oblivious to the icy tendrils wrapping around her heart. The doll sat ominously on the table, its eyes glimmering like dark secrets. She forced a smile, but panic twisted her insides. "No, buddy. Not today. How about we play out back instead?" His face fell, and for a moment, Lisa felt like a monster. Maybe Grayson was just a nice guy. Maybe she was being ridiculous. But the reports of missing children, the whispered warnings, nudged her towards a chilling reality. She had to dig deeper. When Ethan left for school, Lisa wasted no time. She dashed outside, settling behind the bushes that framed Mr. Grayson's yard. Time crawled as she waited, her heart pounding in her ears. A little boy rode his bike past, his laughter a dissonant note in the tense air. She looked at Grayson's house, a deceptive facade of normalcy hiding who knows what inside. Minutes turned into an eternity before the door creaked open. Grayson stepped out, a wide-brimmed hat blocking the sun. He carried something wrapped in a tattered cloth. She squinted, her breath hitching as he turned, glancing over his shoulder, the corners of his lips twitching in a smile. A chill slithered down her spine as her eyes caught a glimpse of Mom. Ethan's voice sliced through the thick atmosphere, pulling her from her dark reverie. Panic surged as he neared her hiding place. She had to keep him away from Grayson at all costs. "Ethan! Stay back!" Lisa hissed, but the boy's innocent excitement blinded him to her terror. "Look! I drew Mr. Grayson's house. Isn't it cool?" He held out the paper, bright crayon colors clashing with the somber mood stalking her. "Ethan, no. We need to go home." Her voice was sharper than intended, yet an urgency crackled in the air. She felt Grayson's gaze bore into her as if he sensed her fear, and for a moment, she locked eyes with him across the distance. "Come on, it's fine. He's my friend." Ethan protested, glancing back, unaware of how she was unraveling at the seams. Lisa's pulse quickened as she scanned their neighbor's yard. Had it always been this unsettling? Suddenly, she noticed markings on the ground, strange symbols drawn in faint chalk. The same symbols from the notes. Her breath caught. "Mom, please." Ethan's whine spiraled as she grabbed his arm. "We have to go, now." Furious whispers of regret and urgency crashed around them as she pulled him back toward their house, the dread heavier than before. Every step echoed with the sense of disaster meant to be avoided. Was it too late? Once inside, she locked the door, her heart hammering. The warm familiarity of home now felt tainted, suffocating. She turned to Ethan, who stared at her in confusion. "What's wrong?" Before she could answer, a sharp knock reverberated through the walls. She froze, dread flooding her entire being. "Is it Mr. Grayson?" Ethan's innocent eyes held pure curiosity, but all Lisa felt was a hollow sense of foreboding. The knock came again, more insistent, demanding. She approached the door hesitantly. As her hand reached for the knob, the world slowed, their warm kitchen fading into a blind panic. What could be waiting on the other side? The next moment might change everything. "Who is it?" she called, her voice trembling with terror. Silence. Then a low, gravelly voice whispered through the wood, "You know it's time." Lisa, a ripple of icy fear coursed through her veins, paralyzing her. The hourglass was running out, and she was unprepared. With her heart in her throat, she turned to Ethan, who stood wide-eyed. "Mom, what do we do?" The wooden door felt like a portal to doom. Lisa wasn't sure how much longer they could hide from the truth. As the whispering dread coaxed her closer, she realized she was trapped in a darkness she couldn't comprehend. What secrets would the door reveal? And at what cost? The door creaked ever so slightly, a hesitant invitation shrouded in dread. Lisa felt a wave of nausea rise as she held her breath, her fingers hovering over the knob. What would she find? Could it really be Mr. Grayson or something worse? "Mom, please, just open it." Ethan's voice broke through her haze, filled with innocent curiosity soaked in fear. He inched closer, his tiny frame merely a shadow against the broad, oppressive door, a door that felt alive, pulsing with a dark energy that thrummed against her heightened senses. "No," she snapped, shaking her head fiercely. "We're not answering." But deep down, that hollow whisper called to her. Was it a threat or just a sinister taunt? She pressed her back against the wall, feeling the cool surface against her skin, the disparity between its chill and her rising panic almost unbearable. She couldn't let Ethan's trust lead them to devastation. Then silence fell, heavy like a suffocating blanket. For a heartbeat, they both stood still, the tension like taut string ready to snap. She peered through the glass window beside the door, quick glances revealing the dim outline of a figure lurking just beyond her vision. Had it moved? Or was it just her imagination spiraling out of control? The knock echoed once more, louder this time, a cruel reminder of their reality. "Lisa, let me in. You know what needs to be done." The voice, deep and raspy, sent tremors down her spine. It was almost tender yet terrifyingly cold, like the caress of death itself. "Mom, please." Ethan whimpered again, his voice vibrating with raw emotion. "I'm scared." He grabbed her pant leg, his small fingers gripping tightly, as if he were drowning and she was the only solid thing in his world. Her heart snapped. She couldn't let him see her rattled. "It's okay, buddy. We need to be brave," she murmured, but she felt anything but. Suddenly, the rational part of her brain screamed to act. "Ethan, back away from the door," she commanded, swallowing hard against the lump in her throat. He complied, confusion mixing with fear in those innocent wide eyes. "Mom, what if it's Dad?" Ethan ventured, his voice barely a whisper. Her stomach twisted painfully. "Your dad is at work, remember?" She tightened her grip on the doorknob, second thoughts fleeting like shadows in her mind. Was there really a chance it could be someone she loved, someone who could explain this horror? The gravelly voice returned, laced with impatience. "You can't hide forever, Lisa. There are things you need to know, things only I can show you." The second the last word lingered in the air, every instinct in her screamed to run. "Mom. Can we just go out the back?" Ethan pleaded, glancing around as if the walls themselves had ears. Adrenaline coursed through her as an idea snapped into clarity. "Yes. That's it." She grabbed Ethan's hand, their hearts beating as one chaotic symphony of survival. They darted toward the small door at the back of the kitchen, but as Lisa reached for the knob, panic consumed her. The basement door rattled ominously from behind her. The energy shifted, a presence swirling in the air. Footsteps echoed from the other side, heavy and deliberate, a countdown to their fate. "Run!" she cried, pushing Ethan ahead, heart pounding against her ribs as they darted through the back door. It creaked open, revealing the labyrinth of their backyard, the oppressive gray sky looming ominously above them. "Where do we go, Mom?" Ethan looked up, his small face strained with fear. "We need to find the neighbors." "Someone has to help," she said, scanning their dim surroundings for any signs of life, but the emptiness swallowed her hope whole. As they stumbled toward the fence dividing their yard from the Graysons, an earth-shaking crash erupted inside the house. It echoed like thunder, drowning out her own racing thoughts. Lisa felt an icy sensation spiral down her spine. "I think it's coming for us," Ethan whispered, his small voice trembling, laden with unspoken fears. They hurried along the fence, eyes darting back to the house, where shadows danced in the windows, shadows that looked like Grayson, shadows that left trails trailing behind them. "Mom! What's happening?" he screamed, legs pumping faster. "I don't know," she shouted back, fear clawing at her throat. "But we can't stop." Just as they reached the end of the fence, Lisa paused. Something glimmered in the grass, her heart stopped. A small, glittering object lay nestled amongst the weeds, half buried. "What is it?" Ethan leaned closer, curiosity bubbling through his fear. "Wait," she breathed, drawing closer despite the urgency. As she reached down to pull it free, a sinister laugh echoed from behind her, the front door swinging open wide as Mr. Grayson appeared, grinning fiercely, shadows swirling dangerously around him. Now, Lisa. Have you forgotten what you owe?" Lisa's breath caught in her throat. She clutched the object harder, her heartbeat drowning out the threat lingering just feet away. And at that moment, she knew they were running out of time. What had she uncovered? And what debt awaited them on the other side of that chilling laugh? The laughter echoed in her ears, a dark symphony sealing their fate. Lisa turned slowly, her heart hammering against her chest like a prisoner desperate to escape its confines. Grayson's eyes glinted with a hunger that twisted her stomach. "Mom? What's that noise?" Ethan whimpered, inching closer to her, his small body shaking. "It's nothing, sweetheart," she breathed, forcing her voice to remain steady despite the churning dread clawing at her from inside. But as she stared at Grayson, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was nothing more than a wraith, a shell of the man she once knew. "Come now, Lisa," he crooned, stepping closer, the shadows wrapping tighter around him like a grotesque cloak. You owe me for my kindness. I'm simply here to collect. Kindness? Lisa shot back, her anger flaring in the face of paralyzing fear. What kind of kindness requires debts? He chuckled softly. Oh, not kindness in the traditional sense. You see, every promise you've broken, every lie you've whispered into the dark, those have their price. Lisa felt a chill crawl down her spine as memories surfaced. The whispers she'd pushed aside, the secrets she thought she'd buried forever. Could Grayson really know? Mom, please, let us go. Ethan pulled on her arm, but his pleas were drowned by the storm swelling in the pit of Lisa's stomach. You should have stayed hidden, Lisa, Grayson hissed, his voice now a low growl that made her hair stand on end. But now that you've chosen to face me, you will understand. As he stepped closer, the shadows behind him lunged forward, reaching for her and Ethan like gnarled fingers grasping for a meal. Panic surged through her veins. Ethan, run! She screamed, pushing him toward the yard. But the shadows pulsed around Grayson, casting a cruel spell of hesitation, freezing Lisa in place with terror. She wanted to move, but it felt as though the very ground had turned to quicksand, pulling her inward. Step forward, Lisa, he beckoned, a predatory smile spreading across his features. Face the darkness you fear. Together, we can uncover the truth. No! She shouted defiantly, digging her feet into the earth, but every muscle screamed to run, to flee from this nightmare. Fine. Run. Grayson's voice cut through her resolve like a blade, and just like that, he unleashed the shadows. They slithered toward her, tentacles of darkness that whispered her name, each syllable oozing malice. Mom! Ethan cried out, terror flooding his voice. With a surge of adrenaline, Lisa grabbed Ethan's hand tightly and yanked him away from the creeping shadows. They sprinted down the path leading to the back alley, but every step churned terror in her gut. They reached the alley's end, but the world was eerily silent, the faint chill of the wind a reminder of the nightmare closing in behind them. Heart racing, Lisa turned to look back. Shadows surged from the house, spilling into the yard like ink seeping through paper. Grayson's laughter followed them, echoing against the walls like a cruel curse. You can't escape what you owe. Where do we go? Ethan's question broke through her haze, pulling her focus. She looked for answers, but the alley darkened as if it were alive, a heartless maw waiting to swallow them whole. Follow me. Lisa pulled him in the opposite direction, their feet pounding against the pavement, desperation propelling them forward. But only darkness surrounded them, a curtain drawn tight around their fears. Mom! I don't want to die. Ethan's voice whimpered, each word laced with raw emotion. You won't. I promise. She panted, though doubt gnawed at her insides. As they turned a corner, the only sound was their frantic breath. It felt like the world was crumbling around them, shadows lurking just out of sight, waiting for a moment of weakness. Then, up ahead, she saw the flicker of a streetlight. Faint hope surged in her. They sprinted toward it, but the moment they reached the light's embrace, everything shifted. Keep moving. She urged Ethan, but the panic of being cornered surged as the light flickered and dimmed, leaving them momentarily cloaked in darkness. Mom? What do we do? Ethan's voice rose in pitch, filled with terror as the shadows descended, swirling around the light like predators closing in on their prey. Then, she realized something. Ethan, the object. She exclaimed, pulling it from her pocket as the streetlight flickered once more. We might be able to use it. But as she here stretched her hand toward her son, Grayson emerged from the darkened edges surrounding them, and his voice cut through the air with razor-sharp clarity. What are you doing, Lisa? Compounding your debt? Lisa's heart raced. The object in her hand shimmered ominously, and she knew there was no time left. To fight? Or to hide? Stakes just ignited, and with Grayson's relentless gaze fixed on her, a new wave of dread washed over her. The choices before them echoed louder than the shadows closing in. What lay ahead would either bind them in chains or shatter the bonds of their shared fear, and as they stood, breathless, shadows swirling, the air thick with dread, a truth whispered in the darkness. Sometimes the answers we seek hide deeper than the nightmares they provoke. What was this object, and could it really help them escape the darkness? The moment hung heavy in the air, a tight knot of desperation and dread. Lisa clutched the object tightly, its unfamiliar weight grounding her in the chaos. Grayson's laughter rang out again, a sound that shook her to the core, sending chills rippling down her spine. "What have you got there, Lisa?" he taunted, narrowing his eyes as if he were dissecting her very soul. "Is it a token of hope, or just another lie?" Ethan looked up, tears brimming in his wide eyes. "Mom, please, we have to do something." His small voice trembled, a stark reminder of the innocence she fought to protect. Grayson took a step forward, the shadows swirling around his legs as if he were their master. The darkness whispered secrets to him, an alien language that made Lisa's skin crawl. "Stand down, little boy," he cooed mockingly. "You don't understand the game your mother is playing. Stay away from him." Lisa shot back, feeling her protective instincts surge. She turned back to the glowing object. It looked like a small amulet, twisting slightly in her grip. Was it a shield, or perhaps it would unleash something worse? "Whatever you think that trinket does, you're wrong," Grayson sneered. "You see, each object has a spirit of its own. In your hands, it could be a weapon or a vessel for all that you fear." Shaking, Lisa took a step back, dragging Ethan closer as he clutched her side. "I want to let you hurt him," she cried, the words spilling out as a defiant promise against the dark, but as she spoke, the shadows writhed, pulling toward them like a hungry beast. The flickering streetlight above flickered violently, casting monstrous shadows that danced chaotically on the walls around them. She could have sworn she saw faces in the darkness swirling around Grayson, distorting and shifting in agony. "Face your own reflection, Lisa," Grayson said softly, the menace behind his words so palpable it made her stomach turn. "Your secrets are not just whispers, they are screams. You can't escape them, and neither can your son. Stop it," she yelled, fury igniting her resolve. With a shaking hand, she raised the amulet. The shadows paused. For a moment, a thin ray of light broke through the suffocating darkness that enveloped them. Ethan looked at her, confusion lining his small face, yet trust overshadowed it. "Mom, what is it?" "I don't know," she admitted, voice shaking. "But I think it can help us. We just have to believe." As she concentrated, she could feel something within the object, a pulse, a warmth that responded to her desperation. Grayson's eyes widened in feigned confusion. "No, you wouldn't dare activate it. Watch me," Lisa shouted, determination flooding her veins. She whispered words she barely understood, a chant of raw fear and need, hoping it would breach the darkness closing in. The shadows hesitated, seeming to recoil from the light spilling from the object. Lisa squeezed Ethan's hand, feeling his small fingers interlace with hers. But then Grayson surged forward, his predatory smile twisting into a mask of rage. "Foolish woman. You're playing with forces beyond your understanding." The shadows roared around them, tentacles writhing angrily as if they were alive, eager for the taste of fear. Then everything erupted into chaos. "Brace yourself," she yelled to Ethan, gripping him tightly. The object between them gleamed brighter, illuminating the night like a beacon. In mere seconds, a blast of light burst forth, sending an overwhelming rush of energy into the shadows. They shrieked and twisted, a cacophony of distorted cries as the brightness consumed them, and the last thing Lisa remembered before the world went white was Grayson's face, frozen in visceral horror. When the light faded away, they found themselves somewhere else entirely, a desolate expanse filled with eerie silence, the air thick and suffocating. "Where are we?" Ethan's whisper broke the stillness, a haunting tremor in his voice. Lisa turned slowly, scanning the barren landscape. A chilling realization gripped her heart. "I don't know, but I think we just made a terrible mistake." Ahead of them lay a twisted path littered with shattered memories. Each step would unveil secrets she might not be ready to confront. And echoing softly in the distance came Grayson's laughter, a promise of dark things yet to come. What secrets awaited them on this haunting road? Would they find what they sought or succumb to the very darkness they tried to escape? The air felt heavier in this new place, pressing down on Lisa like an unwelcome weight. The cracked earth stretched endlessly before them, a man-made graveyard of forgotten dreams. Shadows lurked at the edge of her vision, yet they didn't dance or flicker, they remained still, watching. "Mom, what do we do?" Ethan's voice trembled, small and vulnerable. Lisa knelt to look him in the eye, the amulet still clutched tightly in her palm. "We stay together, Ethan. We keep moving." With a shaky breath, she surveyed their surroundings again. The path ahead twisted and turned, skirting a line of skeletal trees. Each gnarled branch clawed at the sky, like hands reaching out for salvation that would never come. "The path looks horrible," Ethan muttered, fear creeping into his voice. "What if it takes us back?" A sharp laugh bubbled from somewhere dark behind them. Grayson's echo rolled through the silence, wrapping around their hearts like a cold hand. "You can't run from what you've unleashed, Lisa. The darkness knows you now." "No," she shouted, voice crackling with aggression. "We're not afraid of you." But deep inside, uncertainty gnawed at her. What had she truly awakened? What deity of despair had she invoked with that amulet? She took a deep breath, forcing herself to look into Ethan's wide eyes, pools of trust shimmering faintly with hope. "We've got this," she said softly, though her heart raced. She began to walk down the path, each footstep sending vibrations of dread through the ground. But as they ventured further, strange whispers carried on the wind. The voices were low, hushed tones that mingled with the rustling of dead leaves. They spoke in a mixture of despair and hunger, warnings intertwined with the promises of secrets. "Do you hear that?" Ethan asked, his small frame trembling beside her. "I hear it," Lisa replied, her resolve breaking like a fragile thread. "But keep moving. We're going to find a way out of here." The pair pressed on, every step laden with tension. And just as they rounded a jagged bend in the path, Lisa stopped short, her breath hitching. Before them stood an ancient archway, darkened stone covered with writhing shadows that seemed to breathe. At its center, a swirling mist beckoned them forward, twisting and turning with life, as if the archway were a mouth ready to consume them whole. "Mom, it looks like a doorway," Ethan whispered, almost reverently. "I don't know if we should," she started, but hesitation lost its grip as Grayson's laughter pierced the air again, filling her with dread. "Step inside, Lisa. You'll find what you've been searching for." The shadows danced angrily at the edge of her vision, ready to close in again. "Ethan, hold on tight," she breathed, taking a step toward the archway, the amulet blazing in her hand. But before they could step through, the whispers grew louder, transforming into cries filled with anguish. They resonated with memories she didn't want to remember, echoes of regret and pain that made her stagger. "No," Lisa pleaded against the rising tide of sorrow. The shadows slithered toward them, frantic, like a swarm eager to trap them in its grasp. She clenched the amulet, drawing strength from its glow, and pushed forward. "Nothing will take you from me, Ethan. We'll find the truth." Just then, a figure appeared from the mist. A woman, the lost memories of long ago, a face Lisa recognized all too well. "Lisa. Help me." The woman's voice was strained, teasing, like her own, twisted with despair. "Mom?" The word trembled on Lisa's lips. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the shadows surged. They craved the warmth of their fears, hungry for the emotions that could spread like wildfire. "Ethan, run!" Lisa shouted, pulling him back as the archway seemed alive, the mist swallowing the woman whole, the air thick with turmoil. But as they turned to flee, the shadows leaped toward them, a wave of insatiable darkness crashing into their backs. The grip of terror clenched tight around their hearts as the path before them darkened, twisting out of sight. And with that, they plunged deeper into the abyss. What awaited them on the other side? Was it salvation, or would they be lost forever to the shadows? The pulsing shadows clawed at Lisa and Ethan as they stumbled down the chaotic path. Panic surged through Lisa's veins like ice water, turning her breath into shallow gasps. Keep running, don't look back. She urged, her instincts screaming that every heartbeat coiled them tighter into danger, but the darkness hung thick around them, clinging to their skin. A cacophony of whispers intensified, their urgency drowning out the sound of their footsteps. Join us, stay with us. The voices lured, like sirens drawing sailors to rocky shores. Mom! Ethan cried, his small hand slipping from hers for a split second. Fear knotted her stomach, and she spun around, grabbing his arm. They bolted forward, the world dissolving behind them into a swirling tempest of grief and despair, the ground jerked beneath them, as if possessed. Lisa barely managed to regain her balance. She could feel the shadows breathing against her back, eager, desperate to catch them. They weren't mere illusions, they were real, feeding off the energy of their fear. How far does this go? Ethan's voice was barely a whisper, but the way he looked at her wide-eyed with dread made Lisa's heart break. I don't know. She shouted, desperation pouring from her every word. But we're going to find a way out. Suddenly, a flash of cold light emanated from her palm, the amulet flaring to life. It pulsed with a rhythm that grounded her for just a moment. The shadows recoiled slightly, hissing, as if wary of the amulet's power. Mom, what is that? Ethan asked, peering at the glowing object, his fear momentarily stilled by curiosity. I don't know. But as she clutched it tighter, its warmth wrapped around them, stitching tiny shards of hope into her racing heart. She felt a surge of confidence. It's going to help us. The awareness of a presence loomed heavier behind them. A figure materialized in the mist, draped in robes dark as midnight, its face obscured. An overwhelming chill filled the air as it extended a skeletal hand, fingers curling like tendrils of smoke. Turn back, it rasped, its voice wrapping around Lisa like barbed wire. You cannot journey beyond this threshold. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but the amulet pulsed in her grip, urging her to confront the figure. It felt like a painful weight on her soul, the prospect of stepping forward entangled with fear and hope. We have to go past it, Ethan. Lisa declared, her voice firm, although her heart raced faster than her thoughts. A very real choice loomed ahead of her, retreat or face the malevolent force. Behind her, the shadows stirred angrily, closing in. Mom, I don't want to. Ethan whimpered, shrinking away. Lisa forced herself to look into his eyes. We can't turn back, she whispered fiercely. Not now. Trust me. The figure chuckled, low and menacing. Your trust will lead you to ruin, embrace it. She took a step forward, the amulet lighting the way, illuminating the path that seemed to twist unceasingly. A moment hung suspended in the air, filled with dread and possibility. As they moved forward, the shadows writhed like a living creature, seeking to crush the light and pull them into its eternal night. The moment Lisa crossed the threshold of the robed figure, the world around them shattered, spiraling into chaos. It felt like they had shattered a glass facade, blinding light flashing like a dying star and sinking deep into darkness. But they couldn't stop now. They pressed on, feet pounding on the ground that felt alive beneath them, pushing through the terror, and then came a haunting whisper, clearer than before, soothing yet sinister, welcome home. The ground pulsated violently. Shadows enveloped them, and the air thickened, suffocating, as Lisa's heart sank. Home. But where? What had they walked into? What awaited them at the end of this hellish maze? And as the world collapsed around them, they fell into an abyss darker than anything they had imagined. Could hope survive in the deepest darkness, or would they remain forever lost in despair? The silence that followed felt like an eternity, the weight of the darkness pressing in on them. Frigid air enveloped Lisa and Ethan, wrapping around them like an icy shroud. The whispers intensified, transforming into maddening wails that clawed at their sanity. Mom? Ethan's voice cracked, the desperation etched into every syllable. He clutched the edge of his shirt, eyes darting around in panic. Lisa tightened her grip on the amulet, feeling its warmth pulse against her palm. I'm here. We'll get through this. She reassured him, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her confidence. A soft glow began to spill from the amulet, pushing back against the oppressive darkness. It created a small circle of light, illuminating the grotesque shapes lurking just beyond its reach, writhing figures that looked half-formed, their features contorting in agony. They reached out with ghostly hands, their mouths moving silently, as if screaming without sound. "Stay close," Lisa whispered fiercely, her heart hammering. They began to move cautiously, the light flickering ominously as they stepped deeper into the unknown. Each step echoed in the stillness, an uncomfortable reminder of their isolation. The shadows curled and retreated, as if reluctantly yielding to the amulet's power. But Lisa could feel it, the shadows were only biding their time, watching, waiting for the moment they could snuff out the light. "Where are we?" Ethan's wide eyes glimmered with fear, peering into the abyss. His small voice echoed, swallowed by the darkness. "I don't know, but we need to keep moving." Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook, unstable and alive. Tendrils of darkness surged, wrapping around Lisa's legs like serpents, tugging, pulling her down. "Ethan!" She screamed, trying to maintain her balance, but a cold hand clamped around her ankle. She yanked her foot free, falling sideways into the light. The amulet's glow intensified, feeding off her adrenaline. Lines of energy flickered into existence around them, creating a barrier against the encroaching darkness. But it wasn't enough. The ground groaned, cracks spreading wide, like a mouth trying to swallow them whole. "Stay together," she cried out, grabbing Ethan's hand, pulling him toward the flickering light. She was terrified of what lay ahead, but the thought of losing him sent fresh waves of determination coursing through her veins. They stumbled deeper into the darkness, small bursts of light illuminating twisted remnants of reality, doors opening to voids, shattered reflections of themselves, and a cold echo of their own fear. The air thickened as they pressed on, the suffocating presence closing in. Shadows leapt and danced, morphing into faces they both recognized, people they loved, people they lost. They begged for salvation, their lips twisted into mockery. "Join us, stay with us." Ethan stopped short, eyes wide, transfixed by a familiar face, his long-lost grandmother, her eyes full of sadness and longing. "Ethan, come here," she whispered, her voice sweet and inviting. "No," Lisa shouted, pulling him away. "It's a trick. Don't listen." But the shadows intensified, enveloping them in a cacophony of voices that clawed at their minds, swarming with regret, sorrow, and dark promises. It was a storm of despair promising comfort. With every ounce of resolve, Lisa squeezed Ethan's hand tightly. "We can't give in. Not now, not ever." Suddenly, the amulet flared like a beacon, pushing back the darkness momentarily. They were surrounded by a shield of brilliant light, and for just a moment, clarity shone through the chaos, but then the shadows surged back, more aggressive, angry at the intrusion. "You cannot escape," they howled, bitterness dripping from their voices. "You belong to us." The ground shook violently, and disorienting visions assaulted Lisa. Shadows filled her vision, clawing at her mind with horrific images she wished to forget. She could see them reaching for Ethan, their claws inches from his face. "Ethan!" she screamed, panic rising like bile. But then the light flickered, demoralizing, as the shadows lunged, darkness swallowing everything once more. In the heart of the chaos, something surged inside her. The amulet responded with blinding energy, and she clutched it tightly, feeling a surge of power that felt unnatural. "Ethan, hold on tight," she shouted, feeling the darkness clawing at her. In this moment of desperation, surrounded by terror, the treacherous abyss whispered again, "Help us, let us in." Could the secrets buried in this terrifying abyss offer the way out, or were they destined to surrender to despair? The moment hung in the air like dark smoke, suffocating and thick. Lisa's heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a wild animal desperate for escape. The shadows writhed, a living tapestry of anguish, and the whispers morphed into screeches that reverberated inside her skull. "Ethan!" She pulled him closer, every muscle tense as she battled the urge to flee. The amulet, still glowing fiercely, felt alive in her grip, a small comfort against the horror pressing in. "What do we do?" Ethan's voice quaked, barely above a whisper, as if the darkness could hear him. "Focus on the light," Lisa urged, trying to match her voice to her resolve. We have to keep moving. There has to be a way out. As they trudged forward, the light flickering around them, shadows twisted images of their fears. Memories sprang forth, each face, each voice, each sorrow, all entwined in a web of despair. Lisa glanced back, and there it was, her own past, a reflection of mistakes and lost chances haunting her, grasping with skeletal hands. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and she could feel it. The shadows were awakening, their hunger palpable, their cries an unending chorus drowning out reason. A chill settled into Lisa's bones as time dragged, the darkness taunting every step with a threat of betrayal. A new wave of whispers enveloped them, swirling like a tempest, and Lisa could almost decipher phrases. "End it, let go," they cooed. It was seductive, laced with false promises, the terrifying urge to submit to the unknown, to lay her burdens down. With every heartbeat, she felt a pull, a sharp tug towards the abyss, the shadows taunting them to let go of hope. "Stay with me, Ethan." She squeezed his hand tighter, feeling the warmth of his small fingers against her palm, anchoring her to reality. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the amulet, bathing them in an almost ethereal light. The shadows recoiled, hissing like serpents, retreating a few precious feet. Lisa glimpsed a door in the haze, half-formed, yet inviting. It flickered as if beckoning them towards safety. "Do you see that?" she shouted over the din, pointing ahead. "We need to move now." Ethan nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. They rushed toward it, the darkness swirling angrily around them, reaching like fingers of ice. The ground quaked, cracking beneath their feet, sending waves of panic through Lisa. "Almost there," she urged, pushing forward as the shadows clawed at their heels, shrieking in furious protest. The light from the amulet dimmed, mounting dread invading her as darkness threatened to envelop them both. Then, she felt it, the heat of the amulet surged through her, pulling something from deep within. "No. Not now." She gasped, trying to fight the overwhelming tide that wanted to swallow everything. They lunged for the doorway, light flickering one last time, illuminating a path through the murky void. Just as their fingers brushed the edge, shadows exploded around them, consuming the light, and laughter erupted, mad, twisting, a cacophony that echoed through the unseen realm. "Join us forever," they sang, voices intertwining in a dreadful harmony. In that moment of desperation, the amulet flared again, shooting waves of light that pushed back the darkness, forcing it to recoil. But something else lurked in the shadows, the whisper of truth mingling with the chaos. "Stay or let go," it breathed, a dark temptation thick with promise. Lisa hesitated, knowing she had to make a choice. The door loomed before them, a threshold to safety or a trap veiled in comfort, but it could all be an illusion. "Ethan, we have to jump," she shouted, her voice cutting through the ominous pull of the shadows, waiting for their answer. With a breath held tight in her chest, she bounded forward with Ethan, barreling into the light. But just before they could cross, the ground shook violently again, and the portal shimmered, twisting into a vortex. In that blink of an eye, she saw it, brief flashes of countless lives lost, the faces of those who surrendered to the despair surrounding them, weaving a tapestry of horror and regret. And then, nothing. All went black. What awaited them on the other side, and would they even have the chance to confront their fears, or would the abyss claim them forever? The silence that enveloped Lisa and Ethan felt heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. When the darkness finally lifted, they found themselves on solid ground. They blinked against the sudden brilliance surrounding them, a stark contrast to the shadows they had just fled. "Mom?" Ethan's voice trembled with uncertainty, his small form still clinging to her side. They stood at the edge of a familiar, sun-drenched meadow, the kind where laughter once danced on the breeze. Wildflowers swayed gently, and the trees whispered secrets. Everything felt so alive. Yet, a palpable tension rippled beneath the surface, urging Lisa to remain alert. Holding her breath, she scanned the landscape for signs of danger. "I think we're safe, Ethan," she whispered, but uncertainty gnawed at her. What cost had they paid to escape? And where was Grayson now? A faint echo of laughter pierced the stillness, chilling Lisa to the bone. It felt too close, too familiar. "We're not done yet." Lisa's smoky figure began to form at the edge of the meadow, swirling like mist gathering strength. "You still owe." Lisa stepped protectively in front of Ethan, heart racing. "Get away from us." She raised the amulet, its soft glow pulsating with her fierce need for protection. "You'll never take him." Grayson materialized fully, his eyes blazing with a hunger that ripped through the beauty surrounding them, distorting it into something grotesque. "You think you can just run away? Every choice has a consequence, and the pact must be honored." A wave of despair washed over her, deep-rooted fears surging anew. The meadow stopped feeling safe. "No," she breathed, her conviction faltering for just a second. "No more pacts, no more debts. We are free." In that moment, the amulet flared brightly, brighter than ever before, illuminating the darkness festering around them. Grayson recoiled, his laughter becoming shrill, desperate. "You think the light can save you?" Ethan gripped his mother's hand tightly, eyes wide with terror. "Mom, what do we do?" "Believe, Ethan." Confidence surged within Lisa, fanning the flames of defiance. "Together, we can end this. We will not be bound by fear any longer." She raised the amulet high, chanting the words that felt just on the tip of her consciousness like a secret kept too long. The shadows around Grayson writhed, recoiling from the brilliance. "This ends now." As the final word left her lips, a blinding light exploded from the amulet, enveloping Grayson in a wave of brilliant energy. Shadows clawed desperately at him, the faces of those he had consumed twisted in agony. "No. You cannot do this," he screamed, his voice reverberating with outrage and despair. Lisa held her ground as the light transformed into tangible ribbons, wrapping around Grayson, pulling him backward. "You'll face your own darkness now," she shouted, determination solidifying her voice. In a roar of fury, Grayson was pulled into his own shadow, a vortex of lost souls swirling chaotically. The cries of the past echoed, intermixed with his howls as the shadows consumed him, finally bowing to the light. With a final flash, it all evaporated, a fissure of darkness snapping shut like a broken spell. Silence reclaimed the meadow, leaving Lisa and Ethan alone, the air sweet and pure, untouched by the malevolence they had faced. "Is it over, Mom?" Ethan asked cautiously, his gaze scanning their surroundings. "Yes, sweetheart. It's finally over." Her heart swelled with fervent hope, relief flooding through her. She knelt down, wrapping her arms around her son, breathing in the sweetness of his presence, real, alive, safe. Tears blurred her vision as she held him close. "We did it, Ethan. We faced our fears, and we're together." The sun shone down warmly, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Lisa finally felt free, like the weight of the world had been lifted off her shoulders. They were not just survivors, they were conquerors, unbound from darkness. Their laughter rang out, pure and unfiltered, dancing through the meadow, filling it with life once more. "Hey, Mom," Ethan said, grinning brightly. "Can we tell everyone what happened?" "Of course we can, buddy." She smiled back. "We'll never forget. But for now, let us just enjoy being here." As they walked hand in hand through the meadow beneath the blue sky, the shadows of despair faded into mere whispers, their power shattered. They were free to embrace the future together. No longer shackled by fear, Lisa felt the pulse of hope resonate deeply within her heart, ready to fill a new chapter with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. Now is the time to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let everyone know you love these terrifying tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What did you think? What would you have done? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of showing support through these actions. Get on it.